Hello, astrology friends and soul family. Hope you're all doing very well. My name is Meg Moonbeam, and welcome to this very special episode of Astro Deep Dive here on the Beyond Mystic YouTube, Rumble, and X channels. I'm very excited for today's episode because we're going to do really special topic of the USA and Canada solar return charts, which I'm going to talk about what the heck a solar return means, talk about what the heck this is. But before we do, I just want to apologize. I'm sorry that I'm about 17 minutes late in going live. I just had a bit of a delay in my schedule today. So very sorry about that. Thank you for everyone that is joining in live or joining the replay. And before we get started, as always, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic YouTube and Rumble channels, as well as the X channels. And if you'd like to have a personal astrology reading with me, those are available at consultations.beyondmystic.net. The link should be in the description box of this video. And we've got discount code Beyond Mystic, all in one word, that you can get 10% off your next astrology reading with me. So I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but I'm really excited about today's Astro Deep Dive because got some good news, got some, I don't want to say bad news, but just got all kind of news when it comes to looking at the United States solar return birthday chart and also Canada's solar return birthday chart. Digivine16 says, you're forgiven. Thank you, guys. You guys know we do a lot of shows over here on Beyond Mystic, plus doing readings, plus doing prep, plus doing all this stuff. So we really appreciate when you guys are patient with us. If there's ever like delays or anything that comes up like that, it's not because we don't care. We're trying our best, and just lots of different moving parts. So thank you, Digivine, and thank you, everyone. So what the heck is a solar return? Have you guys ever heard of a solar return before? So this is an astrological term for actually our birthday, our real astrological birthday. Solar return is when the sun returns every year to the exact same degree, sign, and minute as when we were born. Okay, so every birthday, we get a new solar return chart, or you could say birthday chart, for your upcoming birthday year or solar return year ahead. So in Western astrology, we use the words solar return and birthday synonymously. We interchange them. And I do actually offer solar return readings over at consultations.beyondmystic.net to look at your current birthday chart or your upcoming solar return chart. So that's one of my favorite things to look at. It's always fun when we've got a new birthday to look at our new solar return chart that is going to get started. So what's really interesting, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know, is it's not just people that have charts. Everything in life has an astrological chart. Okay, every single thing. People, businesses, institutions, inventions, products, and countries. Okay, so when it comes to country astrology, that's really interesting, and that's one of my most favorite things to look at. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be looking at the astrology of the United States and Canada in terms of their solar return charts. And as many of you guys probably know, Canada's birthday is Canada Day, July 1st, 1867. So every July 1st is the birthday of Canada. And of course, July 4th, Independence Day, is the birthday of the USA, when they typically have their solar return. Sometimes we'll have the solar return the day of, the day before or day after the solar return. But usually it is the day of. So it's our astrological birthday chart for the upcoming year ahead. And no, solar returns do not cancel out or discount the birth chart. Okay. The birth chart is always your birth chart. That is based off of the moment that you were born on this earth plane, when you took your first breath, right? And you breathed in that current cosmic influence, and you're holding that energy for your whole life. And that's our sacred cosmic map. The solar return shows the influences for the upcoming birthday year ahead. So in today's Astro Deep Dive, we're going to look at USA and Canada solar returns. Now, why did I pick USA and Canada? Well, because I'm a Canadian gal, and over here on Beyond Mystic, most of us are American or Canadian. And we are going to look at the astrology of other countries coming up as well. But, you know, a lot of us that are listening are American or Canadian. And, you know, the US has a huge influence on the whole rest of the world geopolitically. So I think no matter where we're from, it is very important to see what's going on with the astrology of the US. Hi, Lakeside Laura. Nice to see you. So because Canada and the US have their birthdays only 3 days apart, they typically usually have very similar solar returns, but not exactly the same, as you guys are going to see, because the solar return chart actually changes based off of where we're physically located. Okay, so we're going to start off with looking at the USA solar return, and then we're going to look at the overall kind of general United States of America transits. I'll talk about some of my predictions for the USA for the upcoming year. Then we'll look at Canada's new solar return, Canada's current astrological transits, and the predictions that I have for Canada. So here we go. I don't know. I just love looking at country astrology. I find it so, so interesting. So, okay, up here on the screen, we have the new solar return chart, the new birthday chart of the United States of America. And this year's solar return for the US was on July 4th. So it was the day of at 4:07 p.m. Eastern Time, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, do we have any of my astrology brothers or sisters here in the chat? I see Lakeside Laura's here. I'm don't sure. Did I see Tracy's name in here? Don't know if I saw you in there, Tracy, or not. Okay. This is a very intense chart, and you guys know I don't sugarcoat anything, so I'm going to give it to you guys totally straight, okay? Right off the bat, looking at the United States solar return, and by the way, this is from July 4th, 2024 until July 4th, 2025, that birthday year period. This is extremely, extremely intense, okay? Because first of all, it's very important to pay attention to where is the sun located, what house is the sun located in, and what aspects are the sun in a solar return chart, because it's based off the sun, right? So we've got sun in the 8th house of Scorpio, the most intense astrological house, with a stellium of the sun, moon, and Venus, 8th house stellium with the sun and the moon there, plus a Scorpio rising, okay, and Mars, the traditional ruling planet of Scorpio, conjunct the descendant of the chart. Now, the descendant is one of the 4 main points of the astrological chart. And for those of you who have been in my astrology courses or you study astrology yourself, you will know that if we have any planets or placements, major placements conjunct the rising, midheaven, descendant, or IC, that is a really big deal, and it's going to have a huge influence on the chart. So, wow, 8th house stellium, 8th house of Scorpio stellium with the sun and the moon in there, Scorpio rising, Mars, the traditional ruler of Scorpio, conjunct the descendant, and in an opposition to that rising. This is intensity, because Scorpio is the most intense sign in astrology, ruled by Mars and ruled by Pluto. I'm going to talk more about this. Oh, Tracy, there you are. Okay, I didn't see you because your name is Soul Speak. Nice to see you here. Linda and Laura, how you guys both say moon at 29 degrees of Gemini. Yes, moon at critical degree, Neptune at critical degree, Pluto at critical degree. This is a lot of critical degrees, so we're going to talk about it. So having this much scorpionic influence in the chart, I love to be interactive with you guys. So let me know in the comments, those of you who are watching live, what does Scorpio rule in astrology? What is Scorpio all about? And I'm not trying to, I'm going to talk about what it's about, but just want to see, because I know a lot of you guys study astrology with me or you're into it yourselves. What is Scorpio all about? Because this, for the United States, this birthday year, this is total scorpionic overload, not overlord, overload. And not just that, in the solar return, let's remember in the current transits, the United States is still going through their Pluto return. Okay. So this is total Pluto, total Scorpio energy. DigiBean says, this is so intense. Yeah. Laura, underworlds. Peggy, transformation. Linda, Scorpio, death, dark side, transformation. Underworld stuff, death, shadows. Yeah, you guys got it. It's the hidden side of life. It's the shadows, mystery, intrigue. Dana says power. Yep. Amore, deep, hidden, death, and transformation. There will be a death. Okay. And one of my predictions is not just one death. There's going to be, because this is so much Scorpio in this chart, many different deaths and many different kinds of deaths. Okay. We are going to see, and I'm not calling for the death of anybody. Let me just be clear. I'm reading the astrology. Okay. We will see physical deaths of a politician, a president, multiple politicians, multiple or one major, very powerful person. Okay, Scorpio rules powerful people. We're going to see physical deaths of prominent people. We're going to see death and rebirth of the country. This is super intense. I know I keep saying the word intense. It's just intense, 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 intense. Wow, wow, wow. And you guys will see when we get to the Canada chart, totally different energy. Okay. The United States is going to be a lot more of an intense situation than whatever's going to be going on in Canada, which is very, very interesting. Right? T-Boss 444 says shadow. Yes, dark to light. The dark needs to come to light so that it can be released, right? And what have we had happen since the solar return, since July 4th? What have we had? Oh, interesting. Very soon after this chart got activated, Trump assassination attempt. Very intense. And the almost death of a president past president, or maybe he's still the president. We'll see. And there's rumors now that Joe Biden might be dead, or he is in the dying process, or, what the heck is really going on with that? If you thought the Trump assassination attempt was intense, yes, it totally was intense. Buckle up, because the whole rest of the birthday year for the US is going to be this kind of energy. Crazy, crazy stuff. And I'll also say here right now, because I got this download today, I was listening to an interview of RFK Jr. on Newsmax. And I forget who the journalist was, but they were interviewing RFK Jr. And they said, what would you say if the Democrats asked you to step up as the presidential candidate for the Democratic Party, right? And RFK Jr., I heard him say today, the Democrats' only chance of winning the election would be if they nominate me to be the presidential candidate. So when I heard him say that, that concerned me for RFK Jr. because he's got transit Pluto on his sun right now. I've already made the prediction that there's it's possible that someone's going to make an assassination attempt on RFK Jr. And again, let me be clear. I do not want there to be an assassination attempt on RFK Jr., but he's a 27-degree in Capricorn sun. Pluto is on his sun for like the whole next year while it retrogrades back into Capricorn and while it's in Aquarius. So would not be a good idea for RFK Jr. to become the Democratic nominee, because the download that I got is that I feel like that the bad guys, let's just say the bad guys, one of their cards is that they would make RFK Jr. the Democratic nominee. He would get a vice president, he would get elected, and then get assassinated, and whoever the vice president is would become the president. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, RFK Jr., if you happen to be listening to this and you're open to astrology, please do not become the Democratic nominee, because they don't have your back. They would be using you, and they'd probably try to assassinate you. So I know that's very intense for me to say, but I just felt that so strongly earlier today. And looking at this USA solar return chart, yeah, this is going to be deaths of politicians, maybe even more assassination attempts, crisis situations involving politicians. And I keep saying politicians because Scorpio, which there's so much Scorpio influence in this chart, is one of the signs that rules politics, right? Crazy, crazy stuff. So very, very intense. We're already seeing the intensity with the Trump assassination attempt. And we're already seeing as well, you know, Scorpio rules the Secret Service. Okay. Scorpio rules spies. Oops, let me get rid of this little thing there. Scorpio rules the courts. It's one of the signs that rule lawyers, the Secret Service, spy, hidden court cases, intense court cases, you know, murders, all that kind of stuff. So of course, we're starting to see, as soon as this solar return comes into effect, Secret Service Chief Kimberly Cheadle quits after Trump assassination attempt. And the truth around this, with this USA solar return chart, is going to come out. The truth, I feel, over the course of the next year for the US, the truth around what really happened with that Trump assassination is going to come out. The truth is going to come out. And there's probably going to be even more intense different court hearings or court cases about really darker subjects. Right? Scorpio rules darker subjects. So yeah, kind of like how in, what year was that? Was it 2022? 2022, when there was the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, and a lot of people were watching that and being entertained by that. There's going to be similar things happening in the US, but having more to do with the politics. This is where we could maybe start to see you know, video court hearings of politicians that have not been so good guys being deposed over their crimes. I think we might start seeing this weekend. Why am I saying this weekend? Maybe it's going to start this weekend, over the course of the next year. So very intense court cases and hearings over the course of the next year for sure. So to bring back the USA solar return chart, Mars, because it's a Scorpio rising solar return chart, Mars and Pluto are what we call the chart rulers. Okay. So whatever are the planets that rule the rising sign are what we call the chart rulers. And it's very important to look at what's going on with those guys, those chart rulers in a chart. So because this is a Scorpio rising chart, Mars and Pluto, ruler of Scorpio, are the chart rulers. And we've got Pluto in the third house. Pluto retrograde 1 degree of Aquarius in the third house of the solar return. This is the ruler of Scorpio, exposing and revealing of local communities, local community workers, teachers, elementary school teachers, schools, elementary schools, and what the heck is happening to the kids in school, right? So with Pluto being in the third house, schools, children, elementary school teachers, the school curriculum, in an opposition to Mercury, the ruling planet of the third house of Gemini. Third house is the Gemini ruled areas of life. I think there might be some kind of very intense, like, activist movement or protesting around what's going on with the kids in school and the woke agenda. And I know we've already started to see that, right? We've already started to see there's a lot of parents starting to speak out. There's a lot of teachers starting to speak out. But with that Pluto at critical degree, 1 degree of Aquarius, the sign that rules activism and protesting, in the third house of Mercury, Gemini, in opposition to Mercury, there's probably going to be a big protest or activism around what's going on with the kids in school, what they're being programmed with. Major changes could even start happening to curriculums that are positive this upcoming school year. So that's going to be really good for America. Gemini Ascension, lots of my family and friends homeschool. Maybe, I don't know why I'm getting this download right now, but maybe a protest could be that people stop sending their kids to school because they're so fed up with the woke agenda, right? And that's kind of like a protest in itself. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. Many things in the solar return pointing to children in schools being very highlighted this solar return year, and something big being revealed or transformed there. So that is very, very interesting. The other ruler of Scorpio, Maro40 said, you forecasted this on Navigating the Woo. That's cool because I don't even remember saying that. So thank you, Maro40, for saying that. You know, sometimes when you're an intuitive or a channeler, you don't remember everything you say, right? So I appreciate when you guys remind me of things in the comments. The other ruler of the Scorpio rising in the chart is Mars. And we've got Mars in the 7th house, as I said before, conjunct the descendant. So this is Mars at full position in Taurus, which the chart of Canada also has that too. But I think, let me just bring up the chart of Canada for a second. It's not on one of those 4 points. Yeah. In the US chart, the Mars is stronger because it's right on one of those corners of the chart where this is conflict. Mars is conflict. Mars is anger. Mars is irritation. It's tense and it's irritated. So this is the people and political figures just, and I think it's already there. I mean, you don't need me as an astrologer to say this for the US, but there's a lot of irritation. There's a lot of people fed up. There's already an energy of conflict. So be very, very mindful, anybody who is living in the US or anybody that is going to be traveling to the US, of any situations that you put yourself in where, it could kick off into a crazy place, right? Because people are more over this solar return year in the States, easily agitated, easily triggered. This is the energy where you definitely do not want to be spending a whole bunch of time around people that are on a completely different page than you. There could be some very intense fights that happen with people in our lives, which I'm not trying to call that in, but just saying it's in the chart. Conflict, aggression, people irritated, people easily triggered. So if you're noticing that with people and you live in the US or you're traveling to the US, not taking it personally, okay? It's that Mars on the descendant, which is really, really intense. And, when I see that Mars on the descendant as well, it's like there could be military really highlighted. There could be people showing their guns or being active with their guns. And that's the last thing that I want, you guys. So let me be very, very clear. So we're going to be needing to send a lot of prayers to the states, because there's something that people are going to be really irritated with, really triggered with, and they already are, right? Screaming Bird says 1776 revolution energy. Dot On says anger. Everyone is so angry. Yeah, definitely. They already are, for sure. And, you know, not just that Mars on the descendant, but like Linda and Laura were saying earlier in the chart, the moon, which very much represents the people in a country chart and the emotional well-being of the people, 29 degrees, critical challenging degree in Gemini, which tends to not be a very heavy place for the moon, but in the 8th house of Scorpio. Emotional intensity. People are emotionally on edge. Totally, totally on edge. So I keep hearing Spirit say, don't take things personally. This is indicating to me the whole death, rebirth, resurrection, renewal of the United States, where people that are normies, for lack of a better word, are probably going to be freaking the heck out and like really, really triggered. So not taking anything personally from those guys, right? Yeah, very, very intense solar return chart with an 8th house stellium and also a 7th house stellium. Okay, so stellium is when we have more than 3 planets in the same sign or house. So the 7th house stellium is nice because that's one of the lighter signs in astrology, but it's Mars conjunct Uranus in there. So, you know, conflict with politicians, conflict with government workers, conflict with people's relationships with each other, and a lot of action politically. You know, yes, Capricorn in the 10th house rules politics, but also the 7th house of Libra, because it has to do with diplomacy, can be politicians and the courts around, so as well. So with Uranus, the planet of unexpected changes, shocks, and surprises, in the 7th house, there's going to be a lot of unexpected shocks and surprises to political positions, political leaders, politicians in general. Amore says destruction/creation. Yes, for sure. So, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, with this kind of solar return chart, if you're living in the States, please be prepared for any scenario. Okay. And I'm not saying that from a fear-based place. I'm actually saying that from a love-based place. I love you guys. And no, I don't think it's the end of the world. We're not all going to die. It's not the end of the world. But this is so much Scorpio in this chart, where just making sure that, you know, you have extra food, you have extra water, you have extra batteries, all that stuff, because this is huge changes happening to this country with the Uranus and Mars, you know, conjunct the descendant. Quite frankly, this is anything can happen here, right? Anything can happen here. Very, very powerful stuff. I do like some good news for you guys is I do like, and Dot On says, avoid large gatherings. Yes. Okay. Please avoid large gatherings. I really like in the solar return chart that the midheaven is 27 degrees of Leo. Okay. And let me do a little test for all y'all. Who do we know that's a super, you know, politician, who's a politician that has their rising sign conjunct the midheaven of this chart? I feel like there's got to be someone listening that knows the answer. What politician has their rising sign conjunct? Oh, you guys know. Yay. I knew some of you guys would get it. Oh, a lot of you guys got it. 9 Lives Energy got it. Trump, Laura, Linda, Lisa. Yeah, you guys all got it. Trump has his rising sign at 29 degrees Leo. Very, very interesting, because the midheaven in a chart represents being seen publicly, the highest levels of success in leadership, and it's the start of the 10th house of politics, government, presidents. So that is actually very positive astrologically in Trump's favor, that his rising sign, which is 29 degrees of Leo, is conjunct the midheaven of the United States. So showing, yeah, he's probably going to be the president in this solar return year, right? Yes, conjunct the US midheaven. Now, so that's what I saw in terms of, I looked at Trump and the United States solar return synastry. I also looked up, oh, I wanted to show this to you guys as well. Forgot to bring this up. About half of Americans say public K to 12 education is going in the wrong direction. Yeah, so big changes with schools, elementary schools, school children. We're going to see some kind of huge protest movement change in that area of life for the states. Now, this is Kamala Harris's Sinistry chart with the United States solar return. So in the middle of the chart, and I'll show you guys here with my mouse, in the middle here is the United States solar return for July 2024 to 2025. And then on the outer rim, where we've got the planets symbols in orange, that is Kamala Harris's birth chart. And in the middle is the aspects between them. So this is very interesting, because we see that Trump has his rising conjunct the midheaven of the USA solar return, very empowered, showing that he's going to be in a prominent leadership position of some sort. Kamala Harris has her Neptune conjunct the rising of the United States solar return. Okay. Neptune is about loss, lies, deception. Yes, it's spirituality. Yes, it's creativity. Yes, it's compassion. Okay. But it's not well aspected. The Mars of the United States solar return is in opposition to Kamala's Neptune on the ascendant of the USA solar return. So she is not who she is portraying herself to be. It is an illusion and it is a lie. And she's not in a powerful position. Okay. And because Neptune rules loss, she could, I don't know why Spirit wants me to say, she could quickly lose her position of being the Democratic nominee, I feel like. Also, her Sun and Mercury, which are conjunct in her chart, are in an exact square to the Pluto in the United States solar return. So actually in the current astrology, Kamala is having her Mercury in square to Pluto, her Sun in square to Pluto. And this is, Sun and Mercury in the 12th house of the United States, behind the scenes, being behind the scenes in secret society in square to Pluto. So, and in my personal opinion, I think she's in a secret society. Don't have to be a genius to say that. It's not looking good for her. She's not in a powerful position astrologically. Also, her Saturn is right on the IC, the bottom of the chart of the United States of America, which is like the most vulnerable part of a chart. And that's her Saturn, granddaddy Saturn, leadership, responsibility, politics. So I see her actually losing this position in the very near future of being the presidential nominee, right? Lisa says, not real Kamala. Her character in this movie will go down publicly. I agree with you, Lisa. And remember, Neptune rules movies, characters, theaters, things not being what they seem, right? So it's literally showing up in the astrology between Kamala and the US solar return. So Whose is more favorable? Trump's is definitely more favorable in my personal astrological prediction. I also want to mention that this solar return happened a day before the new moon in Cancer, the day before the new moon in Cancer we had on July 5th. So even though there's a lot of Scorpio energy, death, intensity, crisis, rebirth, renewal, it was within a new moon in Cancer, which is, the sign of the United States. The United States is a Cancer. Canada is also a Cancer. And that was a really beautiful new moon that we had on that day on July 5th. So there is something very, very positive in the solar return for the US being in that new moon portal, new beginning for the country, right? So I just wanted to throw that in there. Also, you guys, in general, for the transits for the United States of America, as I said before, the US is going through their Pluto return, okay, which only happens every 240-ish years and is the most intense thing you can have in astrology, that unless you're a person that lives past 240, you're not going to experience that. So it's something that we only see countries, businesses, institutions go through. And of course, Pluto is the planet of death, transformation, revealing of the shadow side of life. So we've still got not just the USA with that very scorpionic solar return chart, but in their current transits, Pluto return. Still for, I would say, the course of the next year, they're in the energy of that Pluto return. Big reveals happening. Also, transit Neptune is on the IC, the bottom of the chart for the chart of America. That's, the bottom of the chart is the most sensitive, vulnerable part of the chart. Neptune is about healing. Neptune is about spirituality. Neptune is also about loss, things going missing. So there's just so many different things. Pluto return, Neptune conjunct the IC, exact Chiron return we just had. This is a major time for the country of the US going through a healing process. And that's why things are so crazy. When you look at the United States, it's because they're having crazy ass astrology. Big time. These are like once in a generation transits that they're having. So as I've said, just to do a little recap, some of my predictions based on the solar return for the US for this birthday year is total death, maybe multiple different kind of prominent deaths, rebirth and intensity and transformation are major themes for the year ahead for the United States. Death of what the country was and a rebirth, total rebirth into its next chapter. We could see the death of a leader or multiple leaders. Okay, and I know I keep saying that, but what have we seen in the past few days? Lauren Boebert repeatedly demands Joe Biden prove he's not dead. And there's so much, what's that word that Joe Biden uses all the time? Malarkey. I think it's malarkey. I like when he says that. It makes me laugh. There's so much malarkey going on with this dude. It's unbelievable, right? Even to the point where yesterday, from when I'm filming this video, on Wednesday, July 24th, Joe Biden went live. Yeah, malarkey. Thank you, Lisa. And he said that, well, he did his address saying that he's not running for president anymore. But it was really interesting because he didn't be specific at all about why he's not trying to run for president anymore. He was just trying to make everybody feel bad for him. It was pretty lame, hard to watch. And also in that video from yesterday of Joe Biden doing his address from the Oval Office, his watch was a completely different time than what the time was on the clock behind him that was live when it was going out to the world. Plus the letter that he wrote out to all of us saying, I'm going to, drop out of the race, didn't have a presidential seal on it. There's like all this malarkey. 76 Norton says, come on, man. Yeah, come on, man. It's just so much showing, okay, that's like probably not even him. He might already be dead. There's some super weird stuff going on over here. So truth is going to be revealed about that. So yeah, one of my predictions is there's going to be a lot of death, major deaths of prominent people, and intense court cases revealing deep secrets or criminal activities that have been going on from politicians or people in powerful positions that are hard to watch, and they're going to be hard to listen to, right? Also, children's-led protest or elementary school teacher or parent-led protest around the woke agenda in the schools. And I also want to say that Scorpio is hidden money, taxes, and investing. So that's going to be very highlighted for the United States, changes going on with that, what people put their value to, what is of value in the financial markets moving forward. So big financial changes happening for sure. So that's what I've got for the solar return of the United States. And now we're going to move to the solar return chart of Canada. Yay, my home country. Shout out to all my fellow Canadians out there. So, okay. Look at this. Look at how different this chart is for Canada compared to the US, right? The US had 8th house stellium, Scorpio rising, Mars conjunct the descendant, all this really intense stuff. And the chart of Canada has a 5th house stellium. Ooh, that's fun. There's going to be something to celebrate. The 5th house is about celebration, fun, creativity, playfulness. Pisces rising. Okay, interesting. 2nd house stellium, 1st house stellium. This is a lot lighter of a chart than what the United States has. Okay, now it's not all unicorns and rainbows and fairy dust. I'm going to be honest with you guys, but this is a lot nicer, easier to work with of a chart than what the US is going to be having. And I felt like today, I said to COCO earlier, I was talking to COCO before I went live on here, and I got a download today because in Canada's birth chart, I'll bring up Canada's birth chart to show you for a second. Canada's really interesting birth chart, July 1st, 1867, midnight. Sun, 8 degrees of Cancer, exactly conjunct Uranus, 8 degrees of Cancer in the 4th house. So Canada is a country, it's a Cancer like the United States, but it's at 8 degrees Scorpio degree conjunct Uranus, ruler of Aquarius, unpredictability, weirdness, shocks, and surprises. So yes, Canada is a country where we tend to be too nice and too polite, and that's why we're in the effed up situation that we're in with Justin Trudeau Castro and all that stuff. But it's also a country that shocks the world. And I said to COCO earlier, oh, we got COCO in the chat. Hi, COCO. I shared with her, I got the download earlier today that, 5 years ago, if you were to tell people that, I think it's like almost 1 million Canadians have left Canada in the past few years because the geopolitical situation has been so bad and scary against freedom lovers. The download that I got is so many people just left and everybody's telling you, don't go to Canada, don't live in Canada, it's going to be so bad. But actually, something's going to happen this year where it's going to turn around, in my astrological opinion, and everybody's going to want to be in Canada. Sun conjunct Uranus, unpredictability. And I always say with the chart of Canada, because the sun is at a Scorpio degree, we had to go through a Scorpio dark night of the soul to take our power back. And that's what we've been going through with Justin Trudeau. And as hard as it is, Justin Trudeau is a blessing to us because he's making us take self-responsibility for our country, for the fact that we're not truly an independent country yet. And there's some major changes that need to be made. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy for Canadians, but This is a lot lighter of a chart than what's going on for the US. Pick and Fish says 100% first sent to war Canadians bless Canada. Thank you for saying that, Pick and Fish, because that's true. Not everybody knows that the Canadians, was it World War I or World War II or both? I'm having a brain fart, but the Canadians came to Europe first before the Americans. So not trying to bash the Americans, but just saying we're strong. Okay, we got strong troops. We got strong ancestors out there. Screaming Bird, Canada released from the crown this year. It's going to come up this year. I think it could possibly happen this year, but from what I've seen from other countries like Jamaica and other countries that are leaving the monarchy, it's a process that takes some time. So I'm not saying Screaming Bird that it cannot happen. I think that it is going to happen with the Great North American solar eclipse that we had at Aries 19 degrees that was conjunct the rising sign of Canada. Canada is going to be leaving the crown over the course of the next few years. Is it going to be this year in particular? Could be, but it is coming up in the very near future for Canada. So I feel like Canada has such a weird chart. It shocks the world, and Canada's going to be turned into a place this year where you're going to want to be. And I know that sounds totally crazy, you guys, but we're going to remember this video, and maybe we'll remember what I said. I might even forget what I said, because I forget a lot of the times what I said, but we will see. Okay. Very different energy to the United States solar turn. Stellium of planets in the 5th house. 5th house of Leo. The sun rules Leo. Fun, celebration, lightness, playfulness, children, creativity, the arts. Leo. With the sun, Venus, and Mercury there. So something we're going to be celebrating. What do you guys think we're going to be celebrating? I think we're going to be celebrating, and I'm going to explain why a certain Justin no longer is prime minister. I think Canada is about to have the biggest party that they've ever had. The day, probably it'll be a week-long party when that guy is no longer the prime minister. That's going to be like the biggest celebration we've ever had. Yeah, and you guys in the comments are saying no more Trudeau. Yes, I really think so. So 5th house stellium, very positive. That if you have a solar return and you have sun in the 5th house or stellium in the 5th house, this is positive. I can't say this enough. This is very, very good. Good things are happening. Good news, right? With a 2nd house stellium, also, 2nd house is the Taurus ruled areas of life. 5th house is Leo. 2nd house is Taurus. This is pleasure. This is enjoyment. This is values. So this is like 2 stelliums into very positive houses. What's going to be happening? Coco says, I'll take out my good bottles of wine. Bye-bye, Trudeau. Yeah, we'll have to do a Coco show. Get out your wines. Yeah, it's going to be a party. That is going to be one hell of a party for sure. So, and also a 1st house stellium, 3 different stelliums, actually 4, because there's a stellium of planets in the sign of Cancer. 1st house, when you've got a bunch of planets in the 1st house, this is being seen publicly and being in the spotlight. Canada is going to be in the spotlight for something really big, and I think unexpected. Because, as I said, in the birth chart of Canada, it's exact sun conjunct Uranus, shocks and surprises. And if you think about the past few years, the Freedom Convoy, I mean, you cannot make that stuff up. What is weirder, what is more Uranian and Aquarius than a bunch of truck drivers from every part of Canada in the middle of winter driving into Ottawa, into the capital, and having the most peaceful protest in Canadian history, the most successful protest in Canadian history? What is more Uranian than that? What's weirder than that? There's nothing weirder than that. we're going to see more of that in the year to come with Canada. So with the Pisces rising, the rising for Canada is Pisces. And the rising is not in any bad aspects. And the two chart rulers of Pisces, Neptune and Jupiter, are also well aspected. So this is like healing. Pisces is about healing, sensitivity. You know, it's not all easy because we do have Pisces rising, which is one of the more challenging signs. Also, Moon in Aries at an Aries degree conjunct Chiron. So there's going to be something happen that is going to pull at Canadians' heartstrings. There's going to be something very emotionally triggering that comes up that forces Trudeau to step down, a snap election, or an early election. And I'm going to get to, when I bring up the transits for Canada, those exact dates when I think that's going to be happening. Okay. Canadians are feeling sensitive with that Pisces rising. And also spirituality is highlighted. Maybe the indigenous spirituality is being really highlighted in some way with that Pisces rising. And I do think there's going to be amazing music, art, movies, creativity coming out of Canada, because fifth house Leo is about creativity, performance, being in the spotlight. And Pisces is very creative as well. So I think there's going to be some really cool, whether it's documentaries, music, movies, all of the above. There's going to be a lot of cool creations coming out from Canada over the course of the next year. Now, I want to touch on that Moon in Aries at the Aries degree conjunct Chiron. You guys know Aries rules fires, wildfires, firefighters, and we're already starting to see that. I mean, Canada has wildfires every single year, but we're starting to see famous, what this article says, famous Rockies resort of Jasper on fire as thousands flee. So there are wildfires happening in Jasper, which is interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but I don't remember in my recent memory there being such prominent wildfires happening in Jasper National Park or the towns around there. So there can be part of the emotional hardship can be wildfires that are going to be happening, very intense wildfires. And there's a lot of Aries, Mars influence in this chart. Moon in Aries, at an Aries degree. How crazy is this? In this chart for Canada, 7 out of the 11 main placements of all the planets, Sun, the Moon, and the nodes, 7 are in Aries degrees. The Moon, Uranus, Mercury, Pluto. What was the other thing? I wrote it down here. Let me bring it up. Oops. Now I don't have it. Sorry, guys. But 7 out of 11 things. It's hard for me because I don't have my glasses on to see the specific numbers on the chart. So I would say them, but I can't see the numbers that well on the chart. But 7 of these major placements are at Aries degrees, which Aries is all about action, taking action, things moving forward, energy, but it's also about fires, firefighters, police, military, men, divine masculine. Okay. So this is like, for some reason, military is really highlighted, men, those male service jobs as well. And I think we're going to be seeing even more men than already in Canada speaking out about the condition in Canada. And Aries is also athletes, builders, politicians, architects, firefighters, policemen, all of these men starting to speak up and stand up and say, you know what, we're not going to be standing for this Trudeau government anymore, actually. So I'm really excited to see, and I mean, there are a lot of men already standing up, but we need men to be strong in a society for it to be healthy. We need, police that actually protect government service workers that actually serve and really protect. And at a certain point, if we've got crazy psychopaths in the government, at a certain point, not just the people, but those people need to stand up too and say this is not right. Lisa says divine masculine returns. So we're definitely going to be seeing that. And a lot of unexpected twists and turns with Mercury in sextile to Uranus exact. And I'm not trying to cop out here, you guys, but in astrology, Uranus rules unpredictability. Okay. So with Uranus, we know a lot of the things that Uranus rules, but at the end of the day, there will be things coming up with Mercury in exact sextile to Uranus that are completely weird and unpredictable. Very unpredictable news in sextile to Mercury, news, information, shocking information coming out about politicians at Aries, because that's at an Aries degree, powerful people, right? So there's going to be like all kinds of weird news stories coming out in Canada over the next year. Also, Jupiter, lucky ducky Jupiter in the third house means it's a busy year. There's a lot that's going to be going on because the third house is our day-to-day activities, busyness. Jupiter expands whatever it's touching. So, wow, Jupiter in the third house, Mercury sextile to Uranus. This is things moving very, very fast. Whereas in the United States solar return chart, things might be moving a little bit slower, more intense for a longer period. Whereas in Canada, it feels like things are going to be starting to change really, really quickly. So that's interesting. And Saturn in the first house indicates a challenge that must be surmounted around politics and the political landscape, because that Saturn is at 19 degrees, Libra degree. And Pluto in the 12th house is behind the scenes. 12th house is behind the scenes, power struggles and hidden enemies. So any of those, dark arts people in Canada that think they're going to get away with what they've been planning, no, it's all going to get exposed. And with Pluto in the 12th house, they're not in a powerful position. It's quite weak, actually. So that's good news for the good guys and everybody that is, wanting the highest good for Canada. And again, with Saturn and the North Node in the first house, this is a huge year of growth and change for Canada and for the US. And I also wanted to say with Jupiter in the third house, because the third house can deal with our day-to-day gadgets and cars. And for those of you who aren't in Canada, you may not have heard that Canada has become the car theft capital of the world because of all the illegal immigrants that have been let in, and there's illegal immigrants that are running car theft groups. Where I come from in Canada, everybody knows somebody that has had their car stolen in the past year and a half. My mom has had her car stolen right out of the driveway of her house. I have friends that have had their cars stolen. It's happening all over the place in Canada. It's a really, really big issue. And with Jupiter in the third house, Jupiter's positive and lucky. I think that's actually going to be positive developments for the car theft issue, which is a very big issue at the moment. And anything that Gemini rules having to do with cars, short distance travel. Bamlo says Canada has gadgets and cars. Just kidding. Yeah, it's funny how sometimes people think we live in like igloos in Canada. No, we have cars. We have cars and we have gadgets. Okay, what I've brought up here is the Sinistry chart between the solar return of Canada. You guys are going to like this because this is about Trudeau. Okay, we've got the solar return of Canada in the blue in the middle, and Justin Trudeau's chart in the orange, and the aspects of them between, the Sinistry between. This is interesting. So Trudeau has his Neptune conjunct the natal Mars. Sorry. Trudeau has, wait, let me just wrap my head around this, you guys. Yeah, we're looking at the solar return with Justin's chart on top of it. Okay, sorry, just had a brain fart. So Trudeau, currently in the current astrology, is having transit Neptune conjunct his Mars in his 8th house. Okay, so we can see Mars is on top of his Neptune and in an opposition to his Pluto. This is the two malefics in adverse aspect to Neptune, which is about loss, possible illness, prisons, disappearing, going missing, hiding away. And not everybody is going to have planets exactly conjunct Neptune in their lifetime, because Neptune has a zodiac revolution of like over 170 years, if I'm remembering correctly. So that's a very harsh aspect that he's having in the current astrology, and we could see it in this Sinistry chart. Plus, he just had the Mars-Uranus algal conjunction on his midheaven, which I made the prediction recently that Trump was going to have something crazy to happen to him, then Joe Biden, and then it would be Justin Trudeau. So he's next. His ascendant is conjunct the descendant of the solar return of Canada for this year. So that's kind of weird because the ascendant very much represents him. The descendant represents other people, right? So it's not him in the spotlight. It's him going in the opposite direction with these harsh aspects. And what I find really interesting is he's got his vertex, his Venus, and his North Node conjunct Canada's Pluto in the 12th house. Secret society, dark arts. The vertex is faded comings and goings, people coming and going out of our life, right? In the 12th house of disappearing, going missing. So that to me shows, yeah, there just keeps being so many things showing with Trudeau. He's not going to be in this position for very much longer. And I'll bring up Canada's transits in a moment, which also affirms he's not going to be in that position for very much longer as well. Pierre Poilievre. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of him. He's our next Prime Minister of Canada, the Conservative leader hoping to beat Justin Trudeau and lead Canada. So for those of you who have never heard of Pierre Poilievre, he is the Conservative leader running for Prime Minister of Canada up against Justin Trudeau. And what I've brought up here is the Sinistry chart between solar return of Canada for this year and Pierre Poilievre. So this is very interesting. So Pierre has his Neptune conjunct the midheaven of the solar return, which is really interesting because as you guys have been hearing me talk about, Neptune is, yes, spirituality, creativity, compassion. In its shadow side can also be loss, disappearing, going missing, deception, lies, and illusion. Okay. But when Neptune is being positively expressed, it can be inspirational leaders, compassionate leaders, leaders that bring a healing energy to a country or an institution. Okay, so if Pierre did step into this position, which I think it's very likely he's going to step into this position during the solar return year, he would bring a Neptunian, compassionate, healing energy. And I'll just share with you guys before I forget. I did 2 years ago, I did a quantum healing hypnosis therapy session with my friend Inez, who's a QHHT practitioner. And at the end of the session QHHT, for those of you who don't know, is when you get hypnotized to channel your higher self for healing. And at the end of the session, Inez said, is there anything else, Meg's higher self, that you would like to share with Meg and myself and anybody that's going to be listening to my audio? And my higher self said, and I saw the vision, I can still remember the vision. I started crying hysterically. And my higher self was like, in the not too far future, and I felt the year 2025. I felt the year 2025. Maybe the timeline has changed a little bit, but I saw that I was in Ottawa, that I was physically in Ottawa, that it wasn't a warm month, it was a colder month, and there was hundreds of thousands of people in Ottawa. There might have even been millions of people, and we were all outside and we were all pointed towards a stage watching Pierre Poilievre just become the Prime Minister of Canada. And everybody was crying and everybody was cheering and everybody was wearing Canadian shirts and Canadian hats. And it was like this crazy healing moment. And that came up in my QHHT session that I had 2 years ago, which was, what are we at, 2024 right now? So that was after, yeah, he had already said that he was going to run for Prime Minister by that point. So don't know about you guys, but I've seen that vision very, very strong. And it was very, very emotional because I'm sure a lot of you guys know Canada has really been going through a fucked up, excuse my language, situation with Justin Trudeau. And not that we need a leader as a savior, but it will definitely be nice when we have a leader of a country that's not like a total psychopath and we can start a new chapter, because it's been a very dark chapter for Canada in the recent years. So Neptune on the midheaven is like him having the potential of being a healing leader, midheaven, bringing healing, bringing compassion, bringing inspiration to the public and through public speaking as well. Pierre's Mars and Venus are conjunct the solar return, Mars and part of fortune. So his Mars is conjunct the Mars, and let me give you guys the exact degrees here. His Mars is 13 degrees of Taurus, and the solar return of Canada is 15 degrees of Taurus. Mars conjunct Mars, leadership, empowerment, divine masculine, bravery, action, being in your masculine. That's fantastic for someone that's wanting to step into a leadership role and be a man and really express that divine masculine. With Mars and Venus also conjunct the part of fortune in the Canada solar return, which is luck and prosperity. So part of fortune is a very lucky part of the chart, that it's really good if you have something in aspect to that. So for Pierre, I like what I'm seeing. I really like what I'm seeing. He also has a stellium of his planets in the solar return 7th house, which is committed relationships, having a committed relationship to Canada. Saturn, North Node, Moon, and Pluto, his placements all in the 7th house, committing to Canada through politics, Saturn, through his emotional truth, Moon, through his destiny and his purpose, North Node. And even though there's darkness, there's things trying to stop Pierre. I'm convinced of that. But I think he's going to win. I'm just going to say that out loud. I think he's going to win. So we will see. Crazy, crazy, crazy. We will see. Jen Anderson says, this reading has put me in a very good mood. I hope so, you guys. And I've been saying since 2022, I did on my personal YouTube channel, I did a whole Astrology of Canada webinar where I talk about the hidden history of Canada, and I did a deep dive on the chart of Canada. And I said, none of you guys are going to believe me because we're in the thick of it right now, but Canada is going to be one of the best places to be. It's going to make a total switch. We're going through this dark night of the soul with our sun at an 8 degree Scorpio degree, but we're going to rise from the ashes and it's going to shock the world. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited looking at the solar return for Canada. So what I've brought up here is the general transit chart for Canada at the moment. As I said before, the Great North American Eclipse, that new moon eclipse in Aries, solar eclipse on April 8th, was at 19 degrees of Aries, conjunct Canada's rising sign, which is about bravery, independence, Canada showing up to the world, becoming an independent process. So that eclipse, whether or not it happens this year or next year, we've already started that process. It's already in motion. It's going to happen quite naturally. So that's one of the transits. Also, transit Jupiter is conjunct Canada's Mars. Lucky Ducky Jupiter in Gemini for the whole next year is conjunct, Canada's Venus and Moon. That's very positive. Jupiter is in our Venus sign and our Moon sign. There's positive energy coming forward. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Canadian. I'm reading the astrology. This is brighter times ahead. And I think we have a lot to look forward to, and hold that positive vision, because there's going to be a very fast switch and turnaround. And it's hard to exactly predict it because Canada does have its sun exactly conjunct Uranus. Now, when I said earlier, I'm going to give you guys some dates on when I think Justin Trudeau will step down or there will have to be an election. We're going to talk about those dates right now. So let's see. First of all, Canada's vertex is at 6 degrees of Libra. Vertex represents fated people coming in and out of our life. Important people in our life coming in and out of our life. The South Node represents release, loss, letting go. Okay. So we are going to be having, well, actually, transit South Node right now is conjunct the vertex of Canada. So to be honest with you guys, this Trudeau stepping down, this could happen at any moment. Okay. But the exact dates of the transit South Node conjunct the vertex of Canada, fated people coming in and out, is from August 29th, 2024 to November 5th, 2024. South Node is in strong conjunction from now, July 2024, until the end of the year when the South Node moves into Virgo. So I'll just say that again, because that was a lot of dates that I just said there. But the South Node, which represents letting go, loss, release, will be exactly conjunct Canada's vertex at 6 degrees of Libra from August 29th to November 5th. So letting go of a prominent person. And it's in Libra, politicians in the 6th house of work, people that are of service and work, right? Another thing involving the South Node. So we got the transit South Node conjunct the vertex, and Granddaddy Saturn, transit Granddaddy Saturn conjunct Canada's South Node. Already happening. Both of these things are already happening, but transit Granddaddy Saturn will be conjunct Canada's South Node exact from August 26th until September 8th. So both of those things that I just said to you, you guys, from August 29th to September 8th, Saturn is exactly on Canada's South Node, and the South Node, transit South Node, is exactly on Canada's vertex. August 29th to September 8th could be a window of Trudeau stepping down, a snap election, something like that, I think is very likely around that period. But again, we're in the conjunction actually right now. And Saturn is politicians, governments, political leaders. So it doesn't get more clear than that, right? So my general predictions for Canada, just to do a little recap, is there's positive times ahead. There's something major to be celebrated. Very big shift in energy for Canada. Amazing art and creative works will come out of Canada over the next year. There will be an election and forces will try and stop it. I really don't see Justin Trudeau being the prime minister for very much longer. I know I keep saying that, you guys, but really, really feeling that. And I do see that Pierre could actually become the next prime minister of Canada. Also, people of Canada, especially the men, becoming even more brave, outspoken on Canada's situation, things that don't serve the country, and very big emphasis on Canadian business people, athletes, builders, men, all ruled by Mars and Aries, which have a very big influence in the chart, them speaking out and being really highlighted. So that's what I've got, you guys. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Lisa says, not to worry, we've already won. It needs to play out. I totally, totally agree with you. Definitely. Sharon says, bring on the late summer party. Yeah, there might be a huge Canadian summer party happening in the very near future. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed today's Astro deep dive on the USA and Canada solar returns. I want to mention before I finish up that COCO and JSNP4 have just released this crypto crash course on the Beyond Mystic Academy level 1 that is for anyone wanting to get into crypto. They go from the very basics of what cryptocurrency is all about, how to set up a wallet. So that's something you guys can definitely check out. We're getting really good comments and reviews on that so far. So you can go check that out at the link in the description box of this video. Thank you, Dot On. I love you guys too. I love you guys so much. I want to give you all a big, big hug. So thank you, Coco and JSNP4 for that awesome course. And also May Levy has she's about to do this Currency and Consciousness live workshop on July 29th at 12 p.m. Eastern, which is all about healing your relationship with your money. So you can also check that out on the Beyond Mystic Academy. And was there something else I wanted to share? Let me just make sure I got all my stuff here. Oh yeah. And if you'd like to have a personal astrology reading with me, those are available at consultations.beyondmystic.net. I'm so grateful for everyone that's been booking readings with me lately. I don't know what's going on, but I'm almost fully booked for 2024. And I think, is it October or November? No, I think I'm fully booked until November now. Sorry if I'm making that intense Scorpio face. I just can't remember off the top of my head. I still have availability for November, December 2024. So if you'd like to have a reading with me this year, go to consultations.beyondmystic.net and you can book a reading with me. We've got discount code Beyond Mystic that you can use all in one word to get 10% off your next reading with me. And I love you guys so, so much. I'm sending so much love right back to you. Thank you for joining me. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Beyond Mystic YouTube, Rumble, and X channels. See you guys tomorrow for the Daily Astro Show and the COCO Show. And it's going to be Friday tomorrow. So love you guys. Have an amazing weekend and see you tomorrow.